Yo, what's going on?
Well, hello. Welcome to our second edition of Wednesday Night After Dark. Is that what we're calling it?
I think we could come up with a different name, but that's what it is for now.
Yeah. It takes
Late
forever
night.
to come up with a name.
It also takes forever to watch 4 hours of wrestling, but we do it for you.
That is true. Well, I'll be honest. I do it kind of for me, too.
I was just a very selfish thing that I'm doing here, but I'm sharing my selfishness with the world.
Yes. So we had some really... Oh, my bad. I accidentally hit something. See, this is why I shouldn't be controlled of anything. So, I'm Brian. I'm from Portland, Oregon.
Daniel McKee, Memphis, Tennessee, DMC Grizzle.
Yeah. All right. So we're going to start off with Dynamite. How did you like it?
I thought it was a good episode for furthering storylines. It's still, I don't know, we got a little bit of closure with the Hangman thing, but I don't think it's quite over yet. So I mean, everything's moving along quite nicely as far as I'm concerned in terms of storyline stuff. Where there was some great wrestling on this show. There was some odd wrestling that wasn't bad, but there was
definitely moments.
There were some strange moments, but it was a pretty good show. I mean, it was definitely your standard really good episode of Dynamite.
Also, Dallas, yes, we are super late tonight. Actually, we will be every Wednesday because we watch 4 hours of wrestling to bring this show today. As we're trying something a little bit new, we're trying to watch all the shows and then kind of review them or talk about them directly afterwards. So let's go ahead and jump right in. The first match was the Hybrid 2 and Chaos Project versus John Silver, Alex Reynolds, and Colt Cabana from the Dark Order with Hangman Adam Page. So this was probably... Okay, first off, John Silver is hilarious.
Yeah, I was instantly laughing within 90 seconds. That having him on the mic's amazing. We got a Johnny Hungy on Dynamite, which is amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And celebrating -1's birthday, so happy birthday, -1.
Happy birthday. Although it was, what did he say, 2 days or 3 days ago?
Yeah, later he said my birthday was 3 days ago, you idiot.
That's fair. That's totally fair. But then we ended up, okay, so the Dark Order with Page ended up picking up the win with an awesome sequence to get to the end of that match. But then we get the Eric answered question: does Hangman join the Dark Order?
I thought this was for sure. Like I can see it going, both ways. I can see him like maybe doing it down the line or something like that, because the Dark Order seem to now they're going to be baby faces, so they're going to be open to being friends with Page, down the line. Like they're not just going to attack him or anything. So I think this story is definitely not over. And I was kind of bummed. I wanted him to like kind of be either be the leader, or for them to like make Colt Cabana the leader. I don't know if they know what they're gonna do yet, but I like it.
Yeah, unfortunately, Paige did not choose to go with them, at least this time. Who knows? Maybe in the future that we will have him join.
We heard Luther on the mic for the first time.
No, go ahead.
We heard Luther on the mic for the first time.
We did.
My brand new uncle.
We certainly did. He also got if I'm not mistaken, a face full of cake.
Yeah, he got caked at the end of the show for talking shit to -1. And
I'm here for it.
it's, man, every time someone says something mean to that kid, like, I'm always just like, oh my god, it's so horrible. But I know that the kid's cool with it. So yeah, I agree, Dallas. I enjoyed Luther on the mic as well. And he was actually talking. He wasn't just going. So that was cool.
Next, we had my personal favorite, Peter Avalon versus Cody Rhodes.
We don't deserve Peter Avalon.
I love Peter Avalon. I mean, don't get me wrong. Like he's playing a complete douche, and we're supposed to hate him, but it fits perfectly for him. Like there's no other way that he's gonna get over except without that gimmick right now.
No, I agree, 100%.
And he's a really good wrestler. Like it's allowing him to show what he actually has. So good for him. I'm glad. Unfortunately, he did lose against Cody Rhodes, which, I mean, how else would it have gone that way?
I forgot one more thing I wanted to mention about the Dark Order segment. Like when they thought that he was going to say yes, and they had the he said yes big crazy celebration and everything, and they had to move everyone to the back that was coming out to celebrate. I'm sorry, I totally forgot about that. That was absolutely hilarious.
Yes, and we also did get Jade. I love me some Jade. Although it was kind of out of place, so I was like, that's kind of weird. They could have went without it.
It didn't have the same effect, and we saw her last week too. So it's like, I didn't need to see her again this week. Like, I get it, you're around, but it's fine. I'm not gonna chop their head off for that, but it was a little weird.
Yeah, but I'm here for it, and like, I love Jade. We all know this. Then we had Jon Moxley versus Nick. How do you say his last name? Comoroto? Comoroto.
Who's a beast. And I said the other week that he looks like Bruiser Brody, and sure enough,
he does.
What did they say on commentary? Tony Schiavone, words came right out of his mouth. I mean, it's pretty obvious, but I still thought that was cool. It made me feel like I knew what I was talking about.
Yeah, I mean, we all knew who was going to win. Moxley puts him to sleep with the sleeper, but I loved it. Like, it was a beast match, and I'm glad that Mox also let him kind of show what he has a little bit, because it could have easily been a squash match, which I thought was going to happen.
He's been playing that role on Dark very well, of giving people credible wins against somebody that's much bigger than them. So he works well with people that are substantially smaller than him, which is nice. And I think they'll probably keep him around for a while, because he's a good beast to have in your pocket.
Yeah, for sure. And then my next match was my favorite of the night, which was Top Flight and Matt Sydal versus Private Party and Matt Hardy. That was such a good show. Yes,
I agree. This is great. Private Party turns heel. We see Cassidy use the chair. We see Mark Quinn. They kind of have this moment looking at each other, and they say, "Okay, cool. Yeah, we're gonna do it." So they have completely turned heel, which is fantastic.
Yeah, and I'm here for it. And I'm actually kind of glad that Matt had the opportunity to wrestle, because he's kind of stepping into the management type of role. But it was really nice to see him just get in there and wrestle. Like, he didn't have that many. He didn't really show any ring rust. He was showing that he doesn't have to necessarily get injured every time he steps in the ring.
Right, exactly. And it was really great to see him cover 3 people at the same time. I don't think I've ever seen that before. And then JR on commentary goes, "Well, that's 3 2 counts, so that's 6." Thank you, JR.
Yeah. And then also, we had the women's match, which was Penelope Ford versus Layla Hirsch.
We're skipping something very important, though. Because in between all these matches, we're getting we got the Young Bucks with Don Callis, and then we got Don Callis showing up with a black eye, and seeing and talking to Kenny Omega. So what do you make of all this and how they're kind of like weaving this in and out of,
Honestly, I haven't put too
the whole
much thought
show?
into it. I'm just gonna see kind of where they go, because I mean, AEW likes to draw out their stories very long. I mean, don't get me wrong. There's some short stories there, but I usually don't pay too much attention to the storyline, so to speak. I'm more show me what's in the ring, and everything else is kind of second play. So I just kind of watch it. I usually don't have a theory on it.
Right.
You?
I don't. I mean, all the obvious stuff seems like that we're gonna try to give Kenny all the belts, but I mean, the private party thing with them showing up on Tuesday was definite swerve. Like I did not see that coming at all. Like I mean, who would have seen that coming? And and now we've turned them into full blown heels in just 2 days.
I'm kind of here for it. I don't need another face team because there's so many face teams right now.
Right. And if you watched all of the wrestling, then you would have seen Private Party in 3 different matches in the last 24 hours.
Yeah.
Which is pretty awesome.
I'm here for it. Kind of going back to Penelope Ford versus Layla Hirsch. This is the second week that AEW's had really good women's match.
Yep.
So I definitely see that their women's department is definitely improving. Not there yet, but
it's not there yet, and it did. I mean, it is a different storyline, but it also kind of served as more of a way to showcase Miro afterwards. So, I mean, but it was a really good match. I still need 1 or 2 more women's matches every week, or I need more women's segments. Or where's Hikaru Shida? We haven't seen her in 2 weeks. Is she just? I understand last time we saw her, she got bit in the neck, so she does deserve some time off. But, it was nice to see what they did last week for the women's division. I would have liked to see them follow up on that this week. But they're also very good at, kind of doing the every other week for certain storylines, and they are taping things, 2 shows at once. So I guess that makes sense.
Yeah. Also, Dallas brings up a good point. There is a women's tournament that will be for the number 1 contendership for Shida's belt. So I picture it'll probably be a while before we see her back.
Right.
Also, I do want to point out Tony Schiavone did mention on his after show that they did, in fact, thinking of making a AEW own women's all show. So that would be exciting. Or I don't know if he said that they're thinking about it, but he would love to see it. We'll see what happens with that.
I mean, I thought that the WWE should have done it 2 years ago, because I mean, everything was just everything was red hot. It was wonderful. It was the reason that I started watching wrestling again, was because how hot the women's division was. All the stuff on the men's side was like, Baron Corbin being evil, like, which is fine. Yeah. King Corbin does his job very well.
And then at the main event, we had Chris Jericho and MJF versus Sammy Guerrero and Jack Hager, and versus Santana and Ortiz.
Sammy Hager's my new favorite tag team. It was good, and it was funny, and it was good to see them. Like, I really love this match, actually, even though it was kind of a mess.
It was a hot mess.
It was a mess, but it was funny to see them all kind of going after each other. I really like using Hager as like a kind of a funnier babyface type character, as opposed to him just being like, the angry guy that stares at you and he's wearing a collared shirt. So
I completely agree. Let's talk about the lion salt.
He made it.
He made it.
He made it.
But I don't think he's without injury. We're gonna have to pay attention to that tomorrow.
Yeah, he might have gotten rattled on that. I don't know. if that's what hurt him, because I think 2 spots before that he also landed on the back of his head. So I hope he's okay. Yeah, this wasn't the best showing for Chris Jericho. I'm not going to be the one that picks on him and says that he's old and he does. I mean, he's an older wrestler, but he can still go.
Yeah, I don't
But
think it had anything to do with his age or the shape that he's in. I don't think that. I just think that they're like when he did the lion salt, like I saw his foot slip and then he still tried to do it, just hoping he had enough momentum, but it didn't quite get him over. There's a couple of mess ups. The match overall, honestly, just seemed sloppy. Like it was a bad main event for me.
yeah, and it ended strangely. It was timed, like all of a sudden Dynamite was over. So something went weird there. I'll be interested to hear about that tomorrow. But I give them all a pass, kind of, especially the high flyers, because they're out here trying to do all these moves in 54-degree weather. And while that's not super cold, it's definitely not your average 72 room temperature. So I mean, but it did seem like tonight there were just a lot of things that everyone could have been was a little bit off tonight. But it was funny and it was very entertaining, and I liked it. It was just a little off.
Yeah. I do love Dallas's comment. Maybe. I'm sure we'll get that on what was it, BTE behind the scenes or whatnot, or whatever it's called.
And then Penta got beat up. I forgot about that.
Oh yeah, that he did.
Penta got beat up by Good Brothers and Kenny, and that sets up Good Brothers and Kenny versus who all is it next week? I can't remember.
I don't remember, to be honest with you. It was kind of a long thing. I'm trying to look at my notes.
Oh, I got it. Young Bucks and the Good Brothers versus the Dark Order.
That'll be interesting.
That is interesting.
I also wonder if we'll see Paige in Impact, because there's a couple of like-minded folks that he could easily team up with.
I mean, the cowboy stuff, it's right there.
It may be a little too obvious.
Right.
How would you rate this episode?
If it's 4 out of 5, or
now let's do 10.
Change to 10, right?
Yeah.
I'll give it a 7.5.
That's fair. I will probably give. I'm going to give it a solid 7. I almost said 6.5, but it was a little better than that. The only thing that was a real bummer for me was the main event. But other than that, it was a decent show overall.
Oh, okay. So here I found all the matches for next week. We got Jungle Boy versus Dax Harwood. So I like that we're still getting more FTR Jurassic Express stuff. That's cool. Eddie Kingston versus Lance Archer next week. Yes, give me that all day. I just love Eddie Kingston. I think he's wonderful. In 2 weeks we've got Beach Break. So they also announced that we're going to get the wedding of Penelope Ford and Kip Sabian finally, and they can finally move on to something else.
They're filming in Miami, right?
I think so. I guess so.
Because I know that they're going to do it a couple of weeks because it was too cold in Jacksonville, so I think they're moving it to a hotter location.
Good.
But I don't know, because they would have sold tickets, and I haven't really seen too much of that.
I'll see if we can find an ad or something like that. Thunder Rosa versus Britt Baker. That'll be at Beach Break, and the tag team battle royale. Winner faces the champs at Revolution. Super cool.
Yes. But definitely, if you missed this episode, it's definitely a worth watching episode. There's not much I can say too much about it. Just personal things that I didn't necessarily appreciate, or not that I didn't appreciate it, but that I found kind of lowered my score a little bit. But definitely a must-watch episode.
Yeah, it's important, especially if you want to stay current with all them storylines.
Yeah. All right, let's go ahead and move to NXT result. I was looking for what is NXT called? What is NXT called? Just NXT and USA. It wasn't as bad. I think last week we like the. We'll get into that afterwards. We
Mm-hmm.
started off the show with Leon Ruff and Kushida going up against Johnny Gargano and Austin Theory in the round for the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic match. I believe that was the first round match.
How about the no look high five?
That was actually cool.
How about that no look high five? They did it twice. I love their antics. I think it's hilarious.
I mean, it was hilarious, but I've got to give it to. I was actually really surprised at who won. I did not expect Ruff and Kushida to win.
Yeah, Kushida pinned Johnny Gargano.
I see them coming up with a feud in the near future.
It looked great. Give Kushida all the belts.
He's a beast.
I don't want him to leave.
That I don't like about him.
They haven't treated him right for the first year that he was there. It's not his fault. Give him all the belts. He's just wonderful. He's an awesome baby face, and I'll be completely heartbroken when he turns heel, which will happen eventually.
I mean, probably. Yeah. And then our second match, we had Karrion Kross versus Ashanti Adonis. Well, yeah. If you want to call it a match.
Yeah, I mean, you knew what this was going to be. Karrion Kross is just coming back, establishing his. I think it's cool though that that they are giving him a few squash matches and everything, before they give him a title shot, because he's not just coming back and saying, "Hey, that's my title," because he could just say, "Hey, look, I got injured. You took my title away. Give it back." But they're kind of rebuilding him up again. I love Karrion Kross. So, I'm always happy to see him wrestle.
Right. Can we talk about what the hell she had on her head? I didn't hate it.
Let's talk about what's going on with Scarlett Bordeaux's face. I get that they're supposed to look like, I guess, creepy tree branches or something like that. It works when the lights are out for a second, but you don't need to wear it the whole match. It looks like a broken catcher's mask.
It also kind of looked like Medusa. I thought that's kind of what it was going for with the snakes coming out.
That's probably actually what it was.
I didn't hate it. It was just weird. It needed to be more. But it kind of just looked like she got a rake and just let's put this on. It broke, kind of thing. But I didn't hate it. That was the weird thing about it.
I'm thinking it's probably not a permanent part of her outfit since it always changes up a little bit. And she knew that she wasn't going to be out there for very long. So she's like, okay, I got this weird thing. I'll try it out.
Yeah, for sure.
I'll be surprised if we see it again.
Yeah, and she looked good. Let's not put any part. I just hope she does more than just what she's doing.
Yeah, and I also don't need her to mouth the words to the music. It's unnecessary. I love that intro, but every time she does it, I'm like, okay. But then I'm instantly like, oh yes, Karrion Kross, man. I don't care anymore.
Right, because I'm like, you're a horrible drag queen. This doesn't work for us. Next, we had another Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic first round match. Lucha House Party defeated Imperium. I didn't like that. Everybody knows that I love Marcel, and he didn't win, so I didn't like it.
Hey, look, I don't care where Lucha House Party gets their wins. If you want to give them some wins somewhere, they freaking deserve it. They job to anybody, and they're better wrestlers than half of whatever roster that they're on. So I don't mind it at all. There were tons of swerves on this show.
I would have liked it if I love Lucha House Party, and I think that they deserve the win. But I also think so does Imperium, because they only have a couple. I mean, those guys are the most passionate people in wrestling. You can tell that they're just pure passion.
Right.
I mean, Marcel, I think he posted something on Instagram, at age 14, he had a match and he slept under the ring so he could be there because he couldn't afford a hotel or anything at that time. So anybody who's willing to do that needs, they love the business. And a lot of times, especially in WWE, you'll get people in wrestling that don't necessarily love the business, but like the opportunity. There's a big difference. Those guys usually don't last, no matter how big of a push they get. Occasionally they do. But I think the guys who have that drive, that passion for the business deserve to go up, not down.
I agree 100%. Yeah, you do get people that are capable of wrestling, but they're really more looking to just, further their career, whether it's as an actor or just, as a public figure, as opposed to people that are just straight up wrestlers. And I could not agree with that more. But we did see Alexander Wolf show back up. That was exciting.
Yeah, I'm actually really glad. Like, I don't know if he's gonna pull them back, but there's a storyline, so I appreciate that. Give them as much credit as you can. And then next we saw the first round of the female side of the Dusty Classic, which was Casey and Kaden going up against Tony Storm and Mercedes Martinez. Did not see that. I did not expect that ending.
I will stand right here and stand corrected in front of all of you when I could predicted last week that they were going to win the entire tournament, and they lost in the first round.
Okay, first of all, Casey, with your finisher, I've never seen that done before. So kudos to you. I actually love those two as a tag team. Love them.
I do too. I think it's fun. I like Kaden Carter. She was wearing really cool contacts, by the way. They were like super light green. They were awesome. Yeah, this was super cool. I would love to see them win the whole tournament. Yeah.
That's funny you say that. I was actually thinking the exact same thing. I would love to see them win. If not them, I'm going to go with Shotzi and Ember Moon because they're beasts as well.
Right. And part of me wonders, because, every time they do this, okay, it's like, okay, we've created this tournament now because we're having a tournament. Like there's an end result and, we're trying to put someone over. So I keep wondering who it is. I don't think it's Shotzi and Ember for whatever reason. I think they'll get close. I hope this has not all been done just to get Candice LeRae more heat, even though I love Candice LeRae and I'm happy to see her in as many matches as I possibly can. But I mean, I guess I'm not supposed to root for her either. So,
do you think we could see NXT Women's Tag Team Championships belts?
I think if they can't figure out how to get the belts there, which they haven't done yet, because they have to figure out the regular women's tag titles first. And they've done okay job, and
I kind of disagree with that. I think that if we have an NXT tag belt go to NXT, I think that they would just demolish the the main roster.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, because think about it. WWE had a Cruiserweight Championship. Now it's exclusive to NXT. Well, kind of. It is on 205 Live, but mostly you see them on NXT.
I hear you. I guess it's weird with the WWE because I kind of wish that they didn't have brand exclusive men's tag titles. Like I wish there was just one, and then you had to go, kind of back and forth in between shows. I mean, it makes sense, but so that I guess that's my only hesitancy towards that. But you know me, I love belts.
So
I'm fine with it.
I think I just want something. I think that the women's division is so good there, and it's lacking in SmackDown, and well, not so much SmackDown, but it's definitely lacking on Raw, which is where the tag titles are. They need to do something with it, or just people aren't going to care.
I agree, and if you're gonna have the cruiserweight and the North American title on the men's side, you may as well have at least one more singles belt. Or okay, fine, you talked me into it. Let's have women's tag titles for NXT. And in
that case, I would be okay if the tag titles didn't happen on Raw anymore.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah. Okay, so then next we had Bronson Reed go up against Tyler Rust.
I mean, y'all knew what was going to happen.
I actually wasn't sure because they're pretty happy with Rust. So I wasn't sure if this is how they were going to push him into a feud or if it's just going to be a squash match. Not necessarily a squash match, but it was definitely a short match. It was a filler-in match for sure.
Yeah, it was filler-in. This is just, I guess they're kind of building something between Swerve Scott and Bronson Reed.
Yeah.
So I'm cool about. Love me some Swerve Scott. have more of that.
Definitely. And this brings us to the main event, which featured Timothy Thatcher, Tommaso Ciampa in a fight pit.
I'm gonna say it. I was a little disappointed.
It was okay. It wasn't anything major, but also I'm wondering if there's different rules because they're on a network. If they're not able to go as hardcore, if it was a pay-per-view, if it'd be different. I wonder if that played a part in it, or it just, I don't know. I don't know what I expected either.
I guess they lost the momentum when they had to postpone it. Because I mean, I was super hyped for this match when it was supposed to happen, and then and I was still really looking forward to this. And I think that maybe it's just the expectations I put on it. It's nothing. It's not like they didn't deliver or anything like that, or that they didn't have a great match. But I don't know. Maybe I think it's just because I've seen Ciampa in all these kind of either cinematic matches or awesome segments that are backstage on the main show in the past that it didn't stand out from some of the other great stuff like that he's done.
Right. No, I agree. We'll get back to that question in a few minutes.
Yeah.
So, yeah, no, I didn't hate it at all. I enjoyed it, but I guess for like a weekly show, it was fine. I mean, it kind of ranks up there with kind of how I felt. No, it was slightly better than I feel like Dynamite's main event was, only based on it wasn't sloppy, so to speak.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard like a triple tag match and then a singles match, let alone something like a fight pit match. They're two very different things. I would say that the main event was better. For NXT, if I had to compare the two. Yeah. But the shows were both pretty even. I mean, I think the wrestling on NXT was a little bit more tight for today.
I don't disagree with that, because even at the main event, like Ortiz and Santana did amazing. I mean, they didn't miss a beat at all. So there's just certain spots or certain people that weren't hitting it on that one. Okay, so what would you rate NXT?
I gave Dynamite 7.5. I give NXT an 8 this week.
Okay. I'm gonna have to also go with a solid. I'm going to give it a 7.5 on this one.
Mm-hmm.
Only because if it wasn't for the women's tag, I probably wouldn't have gone it as high. But that definitely gave it a solid 7.5 for me.
Yeah, I think this, I love the Dusty Cup Classic. I think it's great. I don't know how Cody feels about it, but, I think it's a great tournament. I always look forward to it every year. So that's a great storyline going on. I think both shows did a great job in moving their storylines right along. You can't, say it all the time. You can't have the super banger episodes every week, but you can always have a solid episode. And this was definitely solid on both accounts.
I definitely think it's a must-watch episode. I don't think it's like one that you want to sleep on. But also, if we're ranking them the best out of the best, we have to have some lower ones occasionally. Did you okay, so real quick, you said something about how Cody felt about the Dusty Rhodes. I remember reading something about it, and I don't know if it was just an idea or what it was, but Cody was fine with it from what I understood.
Mm-hmm.
Because I mean, it's part of his father's legacy. I don't know if that's just something I made up in my own head or if that was something that I read, but I just remember hearing something about it like it was fine.
That's good. Yeah, I don't know. It's just, it's interesting to me that, like wrestling is, when it comes to the WWF, it's just weird to me that they were able to purchase so much of wrestling history and hoard it in a way. And I love that we could just get to a day where everyone has access to all the history of wrestling, and we can help each other out.
I would love for AEW to buy up the rest of the library, so I only have to buy two subscriptions instead of like 50 that we all have to have. But yeah, I mean, other than that, this week was Wednesday again was a solid week for professional wrestling.
I'm still waiting for somebody from New Japan to show up on Dynamite.
I don't think that's going to happen.
It was rumored that Kenta was going to show up this week.
We'll see.
Because somebody wants that IWGP US Championship.
We'll see. We'll see what happens. I would be okay if he doesn't. I like that there's a big separation. Because, I mean, at the end of the day, I need an alternative to AEW and WWE. I like to keep them separated.
True.
And I mean, I love New Japan. So let's keep all three. Let's have the big three and all of them separated. And Impact was pretty good too. We can't leave them out. But Impact is very intertwined with AEW right now, but I'm here for it. I will say that one thing that Tony Schiavone said on the after show is that they are definitely not buying Impact.
But I don't trust the words that they say because they're always working.
I don't know. I think that there's probably more written about it. I think there's something else going on, but I don't know. We'll see what happens. I'm excited about that.
Yeah, I'm cool with it either way. I mean, I don't need them to be purchased by them. I mean, if they're not right now and they're doing what they're doing, just keep it that way. It's fine.
Yeah. All right, guys. Do you have anything else to say for this week?
I don't think so. I think we've covered it. Solid night of wrestling. Gets an overall 8. I think for average.
We can go with that.
Between 7 and 8.
Yeah.
From 7 to 8.
Yeah. No lower, no higher, I guess.
No more, no less.
All right, guys. As always, you can check us out at bucklebombentertainment.com. You can give us a like on Facebook at Bucklebomb Entertainment. Also, make sure you check out all of our podcasts on, guess what, Bucklebomb Entertainment. Find us on Twitter at BucklebombENT, same as Instagram. And yours is?
TMC Grizzle, Instagram, Twitch, Twitter, all the good stuff.
Yeah. And you can find me, as always, at Bryan Bella BBE. We will see you tomorrow for our discussion show, and maybe we'll review NXT UK. We don't know where we're at yet. All right. Bye, guys.